When we're trying to grow wealth, when should a client actually loop an accountant in? What's the ideal time?
At the beginning, and start with the end in mind, not just taking that next step, because again, where we see clients get hamstrung is not thinking about steps 2, 3, and 4.
So what are your philosophies around property buying and how do you use this with your client?
I've seen a lot of strategies online when it comes to property. Look, all strategies can work, but my personal philosophy is that I prefer to let the market do the hard work and not me. So I personally prefer to buy existing properties and just hold it for a long period of time. And I just know it works.
Talking about creating wealth, generational wealth, what should parents actually be thinking of?
One, when do we want to give money to the kids? The other component is, back to estate planning. And then also things like insurance, that there's a need for it, particularly when you're building wealth. And then as we have wealth, we can then scale it back down.
Go slow to go fast, and we'll get there. Doesn't matter how long it takes, but we'll get there safely, and it won't stunt your growth. It will keep you moving forward. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Finance This Property That. Today I want to go through the 5 mistakes that keep investors stuck at 2 properties. These are the mistakes that I've seen, but also that are pretty common. Also, when we walk through the mistakes, I want to talk to you about how you can actually fix these at the end as well, or have them occur less frequently. So, top 5 mistakes. Mistake 1 and 2, you're looking around structure and sequencing. Mistakes 3 and 4 are key strategy gaps. There are actually 2 gaps there. And then mistake 5 is where they get their advice from. So let's get cracking. Let's get into it. Mistake 1 and 2, let's tackle these at the same time. Structure and sequencing errors. So I see a lot of people come to me that have cross-collateralised their loans. They have some sort of loyalty to one lender or bank, basically. And also, the other thing they've done is they've got into entities or borrowing in company trust structures or even SMSFs way too early. And it actually makes no sense, or there was no requirement to do it. Now, these mistakes aren't catastrophic on their own. But what they do is they do close doors, that you don't see for another 12 to 18 months, which then potentially could take years to reopen again. And what we're finding is most investors don't actually realize this till we sit down, have a conversation, and then they realize, well, actually we're structurally stuck. When we're structuring debt, we also structure the sequence of events that need to happen, e.g., what needs to happen in step 1, how it needs to happen, where it needs to go, and why it needs to go there. And then the same with step 2, step 3, etc. And we're constantly reviewing that every 12 months. For clients on my portfolio blueprint, we normally review every 12 months. Some we're doing 6 months. And some of my bigger clients on my wealth creation plan, we're reviewing every quarter. Now, this then leads on to the reason why their structure and sequencing is off. Mistakes 3 and 4 around key strategy gaps. So one of the big things I've found is people are buying without a number, and they're actually making decisions deal by deal without a roadmap to connect them all. So what I mean by buying without a number is they're just accumulating property without purpose. They're just looking at the raw data, but not looking at, okay, well, bigger picture, where do I want to be? When do I want to get there? And how much do I need to get there? So one of the first questions I ask in a discovery call is, what's the end game? What's the number that you're going to be happy with? And when do you want to achieve it by? So we're trying to extract, okay, well, what's the passive income goal? Or what's the income goal you want to achieve? And when do you want to achieve it by? Because that helps you buy the right property and also when to buy the right property as well. Because that's the decision. So you're now making a decision based on without that, and then they don't have a roadmap to connect them all together. So they're just buying with zero purpose. So the investor that owns 2 properties and calls it a portfolio, but actually has no idea what 3, 4, and 5 look like, you're literally moving blindly. And the pain point is made concrete because you're not getting any closer. You're probably going to get further away. And we all know in property, it moves so fast that if you have to take a step back in order to take a step forward, you're probably spending 10, 20, 30% more to take that step forward. But for the clients that I have at the beginning, or even like they haven't made too many mistakes, we're getting them moving forward. And I'll give you an example of that in a second. The last mistake, this is a big one, getting advice from the wrong people. So what I mean by that is you don't have the right team around you. And even if you've got some parts of the team, they're not even talking to each other. So what I've seen in the past, or with a couple of the clients that I've just recently taken on board in my portfolio blueprint, is they have a broker or they just go directly to their bank. But they found that that broker or the bank doesn't give them, they're just transactional. It's, okay, well, this is the deal you want. This is the deal you get. Actually, speaking to someone yesterday, they said, oh, well, why can't you just do the deal for us? It's like, well, I can do the deal, but I want to make sure if it's the right deal and it also sets you up for the next step. We want to have all our exits planned. We also want to make sure it's the right structure and the right property moving forward. So you've got that really transactional side of lending. Then you have an accountant, and they may be the best accountant in the world. But if your accountant is not talking to your broker or banker, well, it doesn't help you with your tax planning. It doesn't help you saying, should you buy the next property? It really becomes hard because the communication is off. Then people will use a buyer's agent. So you're now building your team out, and that's great. Buyer's agents are a vital tool in finding the right property that aligns to your goals and moves you closer to the goal. But if your buyer's agent doesn't even know what the finance looks like or how it's structured, how are they going to buy your property and move fast? Because they need to make decisions quickly based on your requirements and objectives, based on the finance that you can get, and also based on, does it going to get you closer to your goal? Now, they can't do that unless they're actually talking to the person that's giving you the finance. So what this means is that siloed advice from well-meaning specialists is still siloed advice. The cost isn't the fee. It's the actual compounding effect of misaligned decisions over 5, 10, 15 years. Now, none of these mistakes are actually fatal on their own. The problem is that they compound. And by the time most investors feel them, they've already lost 2-3 years of buying capacity. And that 2-3 years is probably like 8, 10, 12% compounding, depending on where you're buying. And that's huge over a portfolio that you need to make over, you want it to build over that 10, 15, 20-year period. The question is, can you afford to keep making these mistakes? Can you afford to actually do things without a finance plan or a property plan? And can you afford to have all your great specialists that you pay for not talk to each other? I'm going to leave you with that thought. If you want to get a hold of me and understand what the property blueprint or the portfolio blueprint's all about, get in touch with me. I'm really easy to find at Dion Finance Specialist on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I've got my own website as well. As always, the information on this podcast is very general in nature and doesn't take into account your current circumstances. Again, speak to me. Happy to help and guide you through this process and even connect you up with people in my network that will be able to help you and that we speak to all the time. Some of them have been on my podcast. Go check them out. But until next time, thanks for listening. And I hope you get unstuck from your 2 properties and move to 4 to 6.